This week was one of missed opportunities. Several teams are going to look back on this weekend and wish they had held on for just a little bit longer or played just a scooch more efficiently. And of course, I eat some crow now that my Wolves are somehow or another listed below Everton on the table. There's some real comeuppance today on Coffee with a Kick. Hello and welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. We're here on the other side of Matchday 5. And, oh, that kind of rhymed. And you know what? Not a ton really changed over the weekend. We had some movement on the table, but nothing. It's still really tight up there. But we should talk about the action before we get to the breakdown. How about that? So we'll start off with the first match of the weekend, which was West Ham versus Chelsea. Hey, maybe my Chelsea pick isn't so bad after all. This one, this was the first time that Chelsea really looked like they knew what they were doing. And, you know, you've talked about it before this season that Chelsea just... It's hard to pick them from week to week because you don't know what Chelsea team you're going to get. Winning 3-0 at West Ham United is a good result regardless of how it occurred.
Yeah, and even, you know, Chelsea, they've been inconsistent, but I felt like West Ham kind of took the game to Chelsea a little bit, and Chelsea showed maturity. Mm-hmm. That's one we haven't seen. But to beat West Ham 3-0 in a rather decent game is actually, I think, a good step in the right direction for maybe a little bit of consistency.
And listen, I'm all for it because they are now up at 10 points, and if they win and Liverpool loses, they'll be in second, which is right where I had them at the end of the season. Long way to go still, obviously. Why do I even say that? But, you know, I'm not as disappointed as I was previously. They're unbeaten in their last 4. I mean, that's good however it comes. Now, was it against, you know, my Wolves? Crystal's not a bad result. And then over Bournemouth, yes. And then also West Ham United. But
points are points. Points are points.
Points are points. Points are points. That's right. But speaking of teams that needed points, my Wolves, boy, you know, my Wolves, it was the best 60 minutes of soccer I've seen them play this season. The problem is matches are 90 minutes long. They were up against Aston Villa after, I mean, Cunha's strike there in the 25th minute was chef's kiss. There were a lot of really good strikes this week. Cunha's definitely ranking up there. And like I said, the best 60 minutes that my Wolves have put together. But we hit minute 70, 72, and Aston Villa just started relentless pressure. And you could see a goal coming. Now, did I see 3 goals coming in those last 20 minutes or so? I didn't. I will be honest. I did not see it coming. But, you know, sometimes it really happens that way. And really, I think the worst one was the 88th minute goal that we gave up. A lot of gold shirts standing around in the box, not pursuing that ball in. Looks like they were playing the offsides trap and just got busted on it. Not a great look.
Yeah, Aston Villa, I don't know if they smelled something in the water there in the 70th minute, but they really did ramp it up, especially as far as pressure. And only 4 shots on target, 3 of them coming there at the end, and all 3 going in. Like you mentioned, Wolverhampton, 60 minutes. Even like up to the 70th minute, They played extremely well, played cohesive. Like you said, just a couple of mistakes ends up being the reason why they walk away with no points when 70 minutes into the game, they have 3 in the bag.
Yeah, there are some other teams that will look back on this match day and say, we let points go here and we could not afford it. My Wolves being on 1 point so far this season, certainly this looks like it could be one of those that we look back and are like, oh, that's not good. That's quite poor. We'll move on from that to another match, a 3-1 victory at home for Fulham over Newcastle. A really impressive performance by Fulham, I thought.
Yeah, it was impressive. I hated the Reece Nelson goal at the end because it ruined my perfect pick. Mm-hmm. But a lot of shots in this one. Actually, kind of an entertaining offensive game. And I really didn't feel like Fulham should have won 3-1. It's kind of one of those matches where Newcastle had a lot of possession. They honestly looked like the better side. Fulham just had a counterattacking style that just kept hitting them over and over and over again. So Fulham, obviously the team that was more lethal, they get the 3-1 victory. And that's really important for both teams because Fulham is kind of creeping towards the top 10 maybe, and Newcastle's kind of creeping towards the bottom 10. So kind of an interesting match to see what this means for the next couple of match weeks.
Yeah, I mean, Fulham's style works well against better teams is what it comes down to. And yeah, they caught Newcastle here. We'll see if they can catch some other sides going forward. But yeah, it was just some bad mistakes by Newcastle. 22nd minute, I thought that was bad goalkeeping for the Emile Smith-Rowe goal. And then the giveaway that you were talking about was just the giveaway was bad there. Yeah, the 93rd minute was a terrible giveaway by Newcastle. And they had chances up until that last goal to pull even, but 'twas not to be. 'Twas not to be. Then we move from that to Leicester and Everton. Here's one of those ones where you think Everton might have it in them to pull off a victory, but 73rd minute, Steffi Mavdidi. There's a lot of D's in that. Mavdidi. Mavdidi. Comes through and gets the equalizer.
Yeah, I mean, another Everton debacle. 3 straight weeks they've had a lead. This one only 1 goal, not 2. And I think Everton, you got to think after the match, Sean Dyche walked into that dressing room and said, hey, we at least got a draw this time. Like, we're at least moving in the right direction. Maybe in a couple of weeks, we'll actually keep the win. Still not great positive things going on for him.
No, it is against Leicester as well, who is not impressed so far this season. 3 draws. It's not a great look. I mean, looking at the table, now that we've covered both the teams, I'm not sure why Everton is technically above my Wolves, and that's just alphabetically based, because our statistics are essentially the same for the season, with 5 goals for and 14 against. A nice ratio there. Really, 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 really good stuff.
Yeah, it's probably alphabetical at this point. Like Google may do it one way, the Premier League might do it another way. I'm actually not sure how they would even, I think you would have to go to a playoff if it stood how it was, because they literally have the same amount of goals for and goals against. So I
think one of the tiebreakers is something like home record, maybe. But even then, both of the draws came away. So even that's the same at this point. So I don't know if there's some.
They should play right now, and whoever loses automatically goes down.
Well, would I take that? Would I take a 1-match winner-take-all versus Everton right now? I think I would. I think I would take that and just, hang it up the rest of the season. We'll lose everything, but we're going to stay up for the next season. I'd take that. I'd take that bet.
Like I said, I mean, Wolves being last is kind of, it's not telling the whole story because they have played some very good teams. Everton, not much. So I think that'll tilt at some point in Wolves' favor.
Yeah, I covered that in the preview episode that we are certainly front loaded in the first half of quality teams. We'll get some. It was December leading. It was late November into December leading up to the Boxing Day matches that we have some point opportunities. But until then, it's going to be tough sledding. Moving on to Liverpool and Bournemouth. This one ends up 3-0 for Liverpool. You know what we haven't done, though? We haven't talked about our picks, really. Let's see. You got the Chelsea one correct because you depicted the win. I picked West Ham to win. Both got Aston Villa and Wolves exactly correct. So good job for us there. Newcastle, you got right. You were talking about that. I picked a draw, so that didn't happen. Almost happened, but didn't happen. And then for Leicester and Everton, I got that one right because I picked a draw, and it was indeed a draw. Liverpool, I got right because I picked Liverpool to win. Now, it wasn't quite 3-2. It was 3-0, but it certainly wasn't the 1-1 that you had predicted. So this one, finally Darwin Nunez shows up and gets a goal. A lot of it was just first half affair. I mean, when Liverpool gets 3 in the first half, they didn't need much in the second. But Darwin Nunez's goal was very, very nice. I will grant him that. I'll give credit where it is due.
Yeah, not a lot to say about this one, except my prediction was wrong. I thought Bournemouth would play better, and they did not. So, to each his own. That's all I have to say.
It could have gone differently. Bournemouth almost had a goal in the 4th minute. I think he was just offsides. So, it could have been different. But we will move on from that to Southampton and Ipswich Town, a pick that that neither of us called correctly, because we both had one side or the other winning. Ends up a 1-1 draw. Here's another one where Southampton will be looking back on this, saying that we carried 3 points into 90 plus 5 and let it slip through our fingers. Terrible. It was a great strike. It was deflected, granted, but still a very nice strike there for Sam Morsey in the 90 plus 5 for Ipswich Town.
Yeah, Ipswich, they get the job done. It seemed like they could have gotten a little bit more out of this match. I'll give it to Southampton. They were the better team to start out the game. But final 60 minutes, I really thought Ipswich should have gotten more out of the match. They didn't. They still get a draw, though, away from home, which for a newly promoted side is still a big deal.
Yeah, I have a note here that in the 27th minute, Southampton did squander a chance to go up 2-0 with a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. So they'll look back on that in particular and say, we missed out there. Moving on from that to Tottenham and Brentford, a match that I did get correct, 1-0. This pick would have looked really good if I had said the things I said about Matchday 4 about Matchday 5. Because Solanke got a goal, Madison got a goal, Hunman's son Hunman got 2 assists. That sounds like what I was talking about 2 weeks ago, but instead it happens this week against a Brentford side who went up early on a great Mbuemo goal, and then just let everything kind of drift away after that. Yeah,
first minute, really thought my selection was going to work out with a 1-1 draw. And it kind of felt like it was trending towards that way even after the Solanke goal.
Yeah.
I feel like after the goal, they kind of lulled us a little bit. Not a ton, though, because Johnson got his 28th minute. But Brentford, if you get a goal that early again, because remember, they got a goal that early versus City, and they squandered another. They lose 3-1 again. So you just got to think, Brentford, you can't score that early and not get some points. Work on finishing the rest of the 89 minutes.
Yeah, and one of the key moments of the match was in the 68th minute when Vicario had a fantastic save to keep Brentford from drawing level, and then Madison sealed it a couple minutes later. So Brentford had their chances to get back into this thing, but Tottenham took care of business this week. Moving on from that to one that, I don't know what to say about this one. Crystal Palace and Manchester United. I do know what to say about this one because I made a note for it. This was a match of goalkeepers. Dean Henderson, fantastic job throughout the match. And Onana had one particular set of saves there in the middle of the second half. I can't exactly remember the minute. But he had a double save that kept Crystal Palace from going up when they had really picked up the momentum and the momentum and the initiative, I guess, which caused both of us, I believe, to be incorrect because we both picked Crystal Palace to win.
Yeah, definitely not a boring match, I would say, but definitely I think this is a better statement for Crystal Palace than it is for Man U. But they looked like 2 evenly matched sides.
Yeah.
And as a Man U fan, you don't want to hear that. And as a Crystal Palace fan, you feel elated to hear that because you're thinking we're taking steps in the right direction. Man U, even if we look at their Europa League performance this midweek, they had a lead and they drew FC 20. Has nothing to do with the Premier League, but just shows the continued issues for Man United against teams they oftentimes would beat 2-3, 4-0. So I'm not sure where they go from here, but Crystal Palace, I think, will walk away feeling pretty okay about a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, I think they will as well. Especially with they've got a challenge coming up this weekend, which we'll get to in the next episode. But before we get to the final one this week, we've got a 2-2 draw between Brighton and Nottingham Forest. Another perfect pick for you. This one gave you a big units boost. A 2-2 with a big swing at the end of the first half for Brighton after an early-ish penalty for Chris Wood. And then everyone just got bonkers mad at the 83rd minute after it was drawn, where Morgan Skip White gets a second yellow, and then Nuno Espirito Santo and who's the Brighton manager? Both of the managers got sent off as well.
Oozler, the American man.
Yes. So this one, got any notes on this one?
Not a ton of notes. I felt like Brighton ought to have done more with the Gibbs White red card. I really think their manager getting a red card as well. That just kind of like the rest of the game felt like we're just trying to play till the end of the whistle.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't get a red card, there's a little bit more tactical moves happening, but it just kind of felt weird after the red card as opposed to like, oh, this is Brighton's chance. So I felt like they could have done better at home to capitalize on that, but they didn't. And Nottingham, I think, will be pretty happy leaving with a draw.
Yeah. Hinchelwood's header was nice. That was my biggest note out of this one.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the headline match, which I would say lived up to expectations. The 2-2 draw between Manchester City and Arsenal, which we both ended up getting wrong. Erling Haaland, why wouldn't you just take him every week to be an anytime goal scorer? That is my strategy, and it's paid off so far. He gets his goal in the 9th minute with a great pass from Savino. But then Arsenal kind of took over a little bit for the rest of the first half. And then right at the death of the first half, there was a second yellow for Leandro Trossard. People were complaining about this. I mean, if you're on a yellow and you make that tackle, you're putting the referee into a very difficult position, because that was an unnecessary and very strong tackle on that Trossard committed. I mean, it was a foul, and the ref decided it was worthy of a yellow. I don't know how you can complain about that.
Well, the hit was a foul, but the yellow was for him kicking the ball away.
Oh, is that what it was?
It was another Declan Rice situation where he delayed the start, and that's why the ref was not going to give him a yellow, but then immediately after that he kicks the ball away.
And they have said that they're making a point of cutting down on some of that time wasting this season. So it has played pivotal so far.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see that, especially after Rice just got booked for a second yellow not 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where you're thinking, why do it? He claims he didn't hear the whistle, but even though you know that you just fouled the guy, you know the play is about to stop.
Even sillier.
City, I don't think capitalized very well on it.
No.
Obviously not getting a goal till the 90+8. But I will say that David Raya for sure kept Arsenal in this one with some great saves.
Mm-hmm.
Arsenal's going to say they should have won. They should have never gotten the second yellow, whatever they want to say. I still think that it was a great match. Second half wasn't as easy on the eye because City at one point had 93% possession over the first 30 minutes.
Yeah. City was just kind of camped out about 25, 30 yards away from the goal mouth for most of that second half, it felt like.
Yeah, this was a game where we missed De Bruyne. Felt like we lacked that little bit of creativity, that last pass. But, fate has what it has, and it brought us a goal this past week.
Yep, this is one of those where Arsenal may feel like at the end of the season we lost our chance at 3 here, City vice versa. we'll be like, we picked up a point that we may not have deserved. But, hey, it's in the books now. Can't change it. So, that's the week that was match day 5. In total, we're putting some distance between ourselves and the favorites. They're down at 27.37 units. I'm up at a respectable 43.9 over the season. You, after this match day, now have a 14.5 point gap between yourself and me at 58.23. Getting 2 perfect picks when I went 4 and 6 will do that. I still broke out better than even, 3.56. Even if you take out the perfect pick, I'm still in the plus money. Favorites were just a smidge over at 0.57. So if you bet $10, you only got 57 cents in return. Not great, but you didn't lose anything. Yeah. Any other notes before we wrap up this episode?
Just happy that we are in the full throes of the season. It's all coming together.
It's all come together, and we've got this upcoming match week. We've got another. Be on the lookout for another Champions League match day. That will happen next midweek, I believe. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, next midweek. But we've still got a while before then. In the meantime, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace on,